History is littered with walls we were told we could never climb. For centuries, our maps were marked with physical boundaries that were treated as final, absolute limits on what the human species could achieve. We faced a world where incurable diseases were a permanent fixture of life. Entire generations grew up watching their peers locked inside iron lungs, a physical barrier that seemed impossible to break. But we refused to surrender. We mobilized on a global scale, organizing massive vaccination efforts that proved even the most terrifying biological limits could be dismantled. Eventually, we even stepped beyond the boundaries of the planet itself, figuring out how to overcome the very force of gravity that had held us down since the beginning of our story. Time and again, we have demonstrated a powerful core drive to shatter the barriers we once deemed impossible. It is the defining pattern of our survival. This makes our current paralysis even more striking. Despite our history of physical triumphs, we seem unable to gain any ground against systemic crises like climate change or ecological decline. Why does a society that can reach the moon feel so helpless when it comes to fixing the systems we built right here on Earth? The problem lies in how we've organized our world. We have divided reality into isolated nodes, economy here, ecology there, each wrapped in a thick fog of legacy that prevents them from ever connecting. Our institutions still rely on the siloed habits of a previous century. We task experts with mastering tiny, disconnected parts of the machine, while the health of the entire system slips from our view. The impossible problems we face today may not be a failure of our ability to solve them, but a failure of our ability to see them. When a crisis is this vast and this fragmented, it becomes illegible to the systems we currently have. That legibility is about to change. In late 2025, the heads of major AI labs announced a plan to build massive intelligence factories at a scale we've never seen. Right now, we treat AI like a curiosity, but it's helpful to remember the earliest days of mechanical power. They were isolated, clunky, and limited. We are moving toward a shift where intelligence scales from an isolated tool into a ubiquitous network, becoming the global infrastructure that powers every thought and community. The most immediate effect of this infrastructure is the compression of time. We are turning months of data analysis and administrative labor into moments, speeding up our capacity to react to change. By stripping away the burden of repetitive tasks, we finally free up the human capacity needed for high-level problem-solving and long-term care. The real power here isn't just speed. It's the ability to trace millions of complex patterns and test the consequences of our choices across entire systems at once. This cuts through the fog. We finally see the hidden pathways linking economic decisions to environmental outcomes. As these systems align, the interests of economy and environment are no longer in conflict. The rigid trade-offs that paralyzed leaders lose their power. This new clarity allows citizens and leaders to make decisions based on actual foresight, rather than reacting to the fragmented, partial knowledge of the past. Systemic barriers that felt immovable for decades finally start to yield, simply because we can finally look at the entire puzzle instead of scattered pieces. But clarity is not the same thing as wisdom. While a machine can map a system, it cannot supply dignity, cultural memory, or a sense of value. The moral direction of this massive new infrastructure rests entirely on human choice. We choose whether to use this power to accelerate our old habits of extraction and control, or to point it toward a path of fairness and repair. Technology doesn't inherently sane us. It only amplifies the integrity and the values of the people who direct it. We have to remember that nature does not negotiate with our political goals. It strictly responds to our actions. The challenge now is to move away from the desire to dominate the Earth, and instead use our new clarity to build a conscious partnership with its living systems. Aligning our technological reach with planetary care is the defining evolutionary test of our generation. It is time to permanently remove the word impossible from our vocabulary when we talk about the future of this planet. By combining deep insight with moral purpose, we gain the reach to outgrow the limitations of our past. This is how we choose a path toward a freer future.